GM Carlo. See Carlo in the chat there. Sanid. Is that where we're going right now? Magetown? Yeah, I think so. I'll head over there. I see Grimm's got a fresh new gallery, or I don't know if it's a fresh gallery, but his thumbnail definitely looks fresh. And I agree, burritos over tacos. Actually, I love tacos too, but burritos are a good economic fix. Are we crossing lines here? Sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That's pretty cool, actually. Tab. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Can you drop some alpha on what these prize packs could look like? Oh, sick. Nice. This is awesome. Well put together. I love the mechanics of equipping. It takes me back to some of my favorite games, to be honest. And the opening the packs I feel is gonna get really addictive quickly. I'm getting like kind of like the Portal vibes. I'm already wanting to buy another one and try my luck here and see if I can get that holy hammer.
To our next little announcement here.
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. We are doing a sale on the items for the real game, so you can check that out. The packs are cheaper now than what they will be in the full release, and yeah, you guys just please have fun. It's not a perfect game yet. I want to make it perfect, but it's gonna take some time. You know, we've been working on it for quite a while, and the budget for us has been a bit tight, but it's out there, it's working. Um, just please have fun with it. Just go get your packs, climb the rankings, and I can't wait for next week to see like the leaderboard. It's going to be such a fun thing to see. We can see the in the rankings, you can see the overall monster kills that we did, which is going to be fun. I really hope we see like 1 million kills or at least like 1,000 free packs opened, or items wise, I hope we see like 10,000 items in the game. Like, I just want to see the stats go up and up and up. So it's something that I'm super stoked about. I'm just happy like that people are playing. That's all.
Nice. Real quick, what is the stack built in? Since we were talking earlier about setting some kind of community shared standards.
Uh, Currently it's just built in like HTML. It's very simple.
Okay.
Like the UI is a little bit too basic. Like long term, I really want to change the UI. I want to get something that maybe in Unity, especially when we move to Gotchi chain, just to like change the UI. It because we started this game about 2 years ago, so even though it's still new, I feel the UI is outdated. So
Mhm.
it's something we're gonna work on to, especially when we move to the Gotchi chain, is to get the UI up to speed with something a lot better. The backend is solid, so it's just the UI that we
Yeah.
need to work on.
You're gonna find some friends during the Voltron hackathon, I do believe.
I do hope so, yeah. But then again, we have some stuff planned. We're just we're not talking about it right now. Like we want to see how the XP event goes, and then we'll let the alpha go.
Where's the best place for friends to dive into if they want to stay right on the pulse of this? Do y'all have your own Discord server spun up?
Yeah, yeah, we got the Discord going, and mainly Discord and Twitter. So the best way to get in touch is going to be uh, Discord, because I normally update everything on Discord whenever something big happens. Especially when you provide liquidity every day. Uh, I update everyone with like, oh, what did you win today? So dropping the Discord, and let's drop the Twitter as well. So yeah, every day someone wins a free pack, someone wins some Giro tokens, someone wins some items. Sometimes the items are trash, to be honest, but I mean, obviously, when you have like two trashy items, combine them, merge them together to get a better item. So, uh, I see a question. You need Giro tokens in Alchemica to merge items. Ah, yes. That's only for the full game. It's not going to be for the demo. So for the full game, normally when we do the seasons, you require Alchemica to play. You require Giro tokens to play. For us, the main thing is let's burn some Alchemica. I know Aavegotchi has been working really hard at burning Alchemica, and we have the competitions for that. But yeah, I think we need more games. We need more ways just to get rid of those Alchemica tokens, right? So yeah, for us, we want to eventually just be just a well of burning Alchemica.
Cool. We're gonna switch here to the next topic here. You guys want to head over to Twitter? Got a little something about to drop for the gang here on this Saturday. Thank you so much. That was amazing game, and
Awesome.
looking forward to
Thank you so
seeing
much.
how
Thanks,
this event
thanks for the
goes.
time. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, boom. Tweet is live. Send it.
Let's go see. Let the alpha rock. All right, guys. I'll be jumping off the call, but thank you so much.
Thanks, Scrooger.
Yeah, thanks again.
See you, friend.
I like what I'm seeing.
Ooh, we got Lost Local coming up. Hey, GM, sir.
MGM.
GM, sir.
I was about to send you guys a message, and now I see the tweet. So this all works out really well. Because I wanted to make a quick announcement about our WIP hangout this week. Coder Dan, is that cool?
Yeah, I mean, this is the teaser. We'll have
Yeah,
some more
yeah.
tweets going out later this week as well.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So yeah, people will be able to hop in the Monoverse as a 3D gotchi this week for the first time, which is super exciting.
You've been hanging out with Rizzle.
I have
Nice.
indeed. Rizzle and myself and Zbot and Thrax and all the creative team over at Pixelcraft have been chatting quite a bit over the past couple weeks. So a lot of exciting stuff happening.
Very
Love
cool.
to hear it. That is definitely the new frontier, man. I'm glad y'all are pioneering right there for us.
For sure. It should be fun. I think Zombie Shepherd is going to be performing live in the Monoverse, which will be super dope. And then I think we're going to be pulling some folks from Mona and Rizzle over to an Aavegotchi Twitter space later on that day as well. So it'll be a fun Thursday next week.
So that's going to be Thursday. What time? EST.
Let me double confirm, but I'm pretty sure the WIP hangout is noon, but let me confirm that real quick.
They're definitely midday. I think that they checked with Choina's boss just to get his work schedule to make sure there was a conflict.
Yeah, I'm relatively sure that that's at noon, but let me just again, I want to triple confirm.
It's lunch hour, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can spend your lunch in the Monoverse. And then our spaces will be 5 p.m. Pacific, so 8 p.m. Eastern.
This is going to be awesome.
Y'all
Is
will
that-
understand
I-
it. Y'all will understand soon, but we're going to be seeing some Aavegotchi avocados here soon enough, I bet.
Oh, for sure.
As I understand it, there's going to be there's basically 3 models that people will be able to choose from. These aren't the final versions of your 3D Gotchi, but they are 3D Gotchis, but they're not your 3D Gotchi. But there will be 3 different models. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, people will be able to select from these like pre-created VRMs, and then they'll be able to, join that way. And that is a confirmation. The WIP Hangout takes place at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. So that's Thursday the 22nd this week.
Question: do they wobble?
I believe there is some wobble. I cannot confirm any hat wobbles for those of you that are familiar with Tim and Eric. But yeah, I believe you'll be able to bust a move in there for sure.
Nice. I
Yeah,
already
it's
fell in
great.
love with the Gotchi wobble.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it'll be fun. We'll definitely get a bunch of content, so it'll be really it should be a really cool kind of, it's a big step. It's a big step for our IP. People are going to be seeing more and more 3D gotchis and in the future, so this is kind of a monument at this moment.
This is not. This is like this kind of stuff like this is why we're spending all this time and investment to get these gotchis 3D so they can be everywhere. They can be in 2D games and in 3D games. That's huge.
There's lots of we're seeing this. There's lots of different teams building good platforms, but no one's got the community, the culture, the IP. We're the party, and so us showing up in Monoverse is probably going to be just as beneficial, if not more so, for them as it will be for us too.
Everything's better with the gotchi. We know that. So
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. See, that'll be. I don't know if I'll be awake for that, but I'll be definitely watching the replays.
yeah, so we'll have marketing stuff going out this week, but really, really want everyone, if you can, help amplify this. Tell friends, like walk them through the process. Let's really do everything we can to get the numbers up inside this hangout, because we're going to create a bunch of content, and we just want a sea of gotchis in there.
Let's make an event here in Discord because it's not listed as an event this week. We should start adding like spaces and these kind of events to our calendar here in Discord so people can see when they come into the Discord what's going on.
Yeah, I think you'll have Seshbot. Get that sucker working.
Yeah. We need to get Seshbot needs to be calibrated for that.
2-for-1 opportunity here. So obviously Lost Locals got all this exciting stuff happening, and they're about to drop the intel and start publicizing. So this is when the community can step up and start tweet threading and making little videos about it, and you get to also claim your Thrive for doing that effort.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, the last announcement I wanted to have from our side is on behalf of the Forge team, the geodes are expected to launch on Monday. So we're going to be pushing the contracts, and they're going to be pushing the UI on Monday around probably the normal 2 p.m. UTC time, maybe a little bit earlier. And geode claiming and opening will finally be live. It's taken a lot of work on the Forge side for the contract and the UI, and we are finally looking at having some legendary schematics to be able to claim. So everyone can start. If you have a bunch of geodes and you're hankering for some schematics, this will be perfect for you to finally get those, open those geodes, and see what's in them. I don't know if Dr. Wagme or Billy Pooh want to come up and say anything about that. Feel free. We're in the last 15 minutes here of the Hangout part of this call. So anyone, community builders who want to talk about anything related to Aavegotchi, feel free to. This is full shill time in the
Full shill
stage.
time.
Hey, Dr. Wagme.
Hey, good morning, and happy Father's Day weekend to all the dads out there. Yeah, we're pretty excited about Geodes. Should go live Monday, like Dan said, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be enough prizes for everybody. Looking at the math behind it all, and we should see a big uptick in forging activity, which is of course good for the wearable floors. And then just wanted to kind of reinforce for the community, like there's going to be more prizes coming into the Geode pool. So get excited about not just like this first release of legendary schematics, but the ability to release additional content through Geodes in a really healthy new content distribution way. So it should be a blog post coming out really soon, which will have more details, and reach out if there's any questions.
The blog post will come out pretty much the same time as the feature.
Awesome, that'll be perfect.
And yeah, Mikey J says Oliver Spoon T-Forge team is on fire. I mean, the little pixel like animations that he did are so fun. I love it. Like summoning the VRF is so cute.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's like a whole experience, I think, forging and smithing, and just being able to like get the pieces, like make your own item. I really think people are going to be like more connected to items that they like forged and got the pieces and created than maybe you just like won in a raffle. So I'm hoping that it's stickier and there's going to be some pride to it. And there's also going to be like, it's going to be kind of hard to get the schematics that you want. So that should be just generally good for engagement and market activity too.
Hardcore, you look ready, sir.
Swagme, the Forge is still kind of a an enigma for a lot of friends in the community. If someone was interested today to say, okay, let me crack this code, what is probably the lightest way to get involved and have a positive experience? What's the toe to dip into the Forge waters?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best way to do it, it would be to, like, if you have a common item that you don't use or isn't doing much for you for rarity farming, you can smelt it. So you break it down into its pieces, and then that's how you can get a geode. So every time you smelt anything, you get a geode, which is like a loot box, and in that loot box can be a variety of prizes. Initially, the legendary schematics. So I think that's probably the best way. You just like break something down, see what pieces it had, and then you can make something else that fits your gotchi better or helps you more with rarity farming, or is following hardcore's advice on the best arena gotchi. So I think that would be a good way to start. And then the blog post coming out tomorrow is going to have a more like lay person approach to kind of the process and the thought behind it.
Very cool. Thank you for that.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, last 10 minutes here of the Hangout. Does anyone want to talk about anything that, like, this is kind of like time to share something that you're personally working on? Feel free to just drop tweets. We can comment on it, or feel free to come up here on the stage.
I got a good one here, which is that Soju has been blowing up Fate Gotchis, man. I don't know if everyone's been paying attention to Bob Gotchi 2 Infinite Love and the Hot Chip release, but this has been one heck of a week for Fate Gotchi enthusiasts in the marketplace.
No, I did not hear about that. Let's
Yeah, so
Bob Ross 2 is live.
Bob Ross 2 is now live. That was painted by Bob himself, self-portrait work. He's doing a little bit of fun meta there, with the summoning of Bob Gotchi himself. Now Bob Gotchi is starting to produce his own works, and Soju just acts as his publisher. So we should be able to kind of follow along with that character creation well. He also released this really great Fake Gotchi called Hot Chips, and it's cute, good graphics, good work. And I think it started with like 39 editions, and he had a unique burn mechanism that I didn't fully understand. I just knew that the more you had, the more pressure it put on the overall supply. And so I went kind of ham on it. And for that reason, he was burning something like 3 to 6 a day. And so it ended up being only 23 editions overall. And it was just a really fun mechanism. And I believe maybe he's got something going on today, because I think that there was supposed to be a big old liquidator free-for-all that he was going to do today. So we might have to get a rain check on that. But it's just a reminder that even today, artists are still coming up with new avenues of releasing their fake gotchis and getting more creative with it, and further enhancing the deployment.
That's awesome, yeah. Yeah, and speaking of fake gotchis, we got Zbot here via Choina. We're gonna have a fake drop. This is a 1-of-1 fake Pepe. I am very curious to see how I'm gonna personally be bidding on this one. So we'll see how high this one's gonna go. This is a 1-of-1 by the maestro himself, Zbot. Very exciting. That's gonna be launching in just a few minutes, I think.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Zbot's doing some really cool mechanics as well on this. One of which, if I read correctly, was that the top 10 bidders themselves are also gonna catch some love from Zbot.
Oh, wow.
So you don't even have to be the lucky one to take it home and
Oh my
be
God.
included in the glory. So he's gonna turn this one into a firestorm.
It's like the double GBM.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
And then maybe last thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to Chair. Chair was doing some really, really cool onboarding this week. He somehow got linked up with a strong community advocate and leader over at DeFi Kingdoms. His name's Ogre, and he's been around in the space for a long time, but he's just on the other side of the GameFi world than us. And it was
that
totally...
Ogre abroad? He
Yes.
invited to speak. Yeah, let me bring him up.
Yeah, please do. Please do. He's been having a great time in here with us this week, and there's a lot of overlap between us and the DFK community, and we're going to start going over into their world and learning from them and doing some GameFi share over.
Yeah, there were some really great connections made at 3XP, and I think this is one that there might have been a relationship there, and I think it further developed. So this is kind of a cool outcome from the convention last week.
Nice. Well, Ogre abroad, welcome to the stage.
Hey, thanks for inviting me up, and thanks to Chair, and you're being a little bit humble there, Kale. You were a big help also, and Hardcore was in there. A bunch of people showed up. It was really cool to see how it kind of progressed. When I first threw up my hand, it was to do a +1 on tagging everything in the events, Twitter Spaces, cool little. I don't know if you guys want to do a weekly, monthly. We were talking about setting up a plan and doing it on the regular. That way, new people coming in can just come in and be like, "Hey, what's up?" There's a lot of people out there doing research, right? But a lot of people also that kind of one-on-one person they can just ask the questions. And I thought that what Chair was doing was amazing and really appreciated. So yes, just +1 to community for doing stuff like that. I think it was amazing, and I definitely think that it's something good to support, promote, and maybe even do it. Like maybe there's one where people it's for right, or it's just external ecosystem built stuff focused, to where people can come in and just ask questions about whatever the topic is. But bad props. I'm really excited about the game. It seems really cool. So thank y'all for having me and holding my hand.
Yeah, it's been a super pleasure, and it's cool. Like when you talk to these people, that the more you talk to them, you realize that they know very well what's going on, that they're truly in the space, and that they know exactly how to do their own research. They just haven't had the luck to cross our path yet. And when you see them start to consume our information and digest it into enthusiasm, it gets us fired up too.
Yeah, it's also funny. I actually met a couple of the guys at East Denver this year wearing Aavegotchi sweaters, and I was just lost in the sauce. I had no idea what it was and so much on my plate that I didn't even find it then. So if any of y'all are in here, my apologies for not spending more time with you. I wish I had.
It's all right. Well, what's important is that you made it. You made it now, right?
Yes, sir. Getting there. It's a lot to learn, so I got a little bit more before I really dip my toe in. But I kind of got the basics down, I think, and starting to do a little bit more research and explore the corners. There's a lot to learn in this game.
Yeah, we could. There's a lot of improvements in the pipeline for kind of helping streamline that learning process because it's a bit intimidating. I can imagine as like a newcomer coming in. There's a ton to learn, but at the core of it, it's just take care of your gotchi, and your gotchi will take care of you.
I like it. I like it a lot. Looking forward to learning more and digging deeper.
All right. Well, before we go to the DAO call, anyone else have any nice announcements to share with everyone? It's been a nice call.
I do have one more here. I want to give major credit and shout out to Orium Network and to Topum. I attended both of their community game nights this last week, and I've been underserving those guys. They are killing it. They're doing great work over there. I had a blast. I burned through like 300 kek on the rapid respawn, which was the very first time that I ever spent kek on the rapid respawn. And so I'm very thankful for them trying to still push the cutting edge of what we can pull off with our currently available mechanics.
Now, what was for those who haven't played the Topum game night that was in the arena, right? What made you want to respawn like that?
Very specifically, it's the game modes. So they were experimenting with capture the flag and with payload. And so with payload, it's very traditional payload like TF2 or any of those typical games where a team has a objective that they're advancing it, and the other team is trying to destroy the players as well as the objective. And so when I would get killed in the arena, it felt imperative to me to get back in there as soon as possible so I could go support my team.
Got it. Yeah, I think game modes are going to be crucial and will definitely be part of the migration for the 3D arena, which is currently it's still ongoing, and we're actually making a lot of progress on that. This week we're going to be testing matchmaking and basically like the private rooms that we were talking about before. So the arena is I think it's going to be a sleeper ship of probably like the second half of this year. It's going to be very exciting. And so it's cool to see people experimenting with these modes. And if any learnings that you guys have, feel free to just jump in our DMs and be like, for the next iteration of the arena, like we got to have this or like this, or don't do that. Any kind of learnings that you guys are experimenting with and would love to see in future iterations, like feel free to hit us up.
Yeah. The one thing we did talk about was the idea of being able to pick which players you deal damage to for like team modes. That would be really cool and helpful.
Just like having team modes, right?
Yeah. Or like we're talking about even in just a basic arena as an upgrade, if that was all we had, having that ability to kind of like tag out who's not going to get damage done to them.
I think just having teams would be awesome. I guess how to do the team. Do you is it something that you join a team when you enter the match, or is it something that like you could change your allegiance halfway through the match?
I think that one. I'm thinking of like almost like D2 with hostility. Is everyone hostility is on initially, and then you can change who to turn off hostility for, so that way I personally won't impact damage to no future, but everything else just remains exactly the same. That'd be kind of the concept if it stays like open realm and persistent, and we're all in one space together. If we break out into private rooms and we matchmake and we have team systems, then that will achieve the same outcome as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Private rooms with teams seems to be a pretty clean option.
Last but not least, 194 there, 6-hour auction. This is a really great piece, friends.
That is a really nice piece. That's very cool. We got 2 big auctions. We got Zbot and 1984.
I stumble on that too for some reason.
Cool. Heading over to the auction house. Let's see what's going on. Fake Pepe. All right. Congrats, Zbot. RD70 Ghost. Boom. All right, friends. Well, that's the end of the first part of this hangout. So we'll head and switch gears here into the DAO call. Do we have any friends that would like to lead the call this week? Just go over some of the active proposals and any discussions that are ongoing in the DAO forum.
Let's see the
Where's
snapshot
Roxiana?
here. We can have a quick look. That's usually a good place to start, right? Let's have a look at the snapshot here. Okay, yeah, we got 2 proposals right now. Let's see. So you have Agip 85, schedule all Act 1 parcel surveys, rerolls. And that looks like hasn't met quorum yet, but 73% in favor of this rerolls. I think there was like pretty widespread support, especially from people who had mined their parcels and are now kind of just waiting to get that utility back. And so this aims to kind of have more of a scheduled system for these and have a long-term kind of release schedule for this. So
The vault on the same prop is at 26,000 VLT overall, 78% for yes. So that likely is going to move forward.
and you got 2 days on that. So get it in there, get your XP. It is a core proposal. And let's see, we also got the Gotchi Battler funding by Mark, and this has been an ongoing conversation that I think this idea has been out there for a couple months at least, and has been discussed in the forums. Let's see here. Gotchi Battler funding, yes, fund 91% or 2.4 million Ghost in favor of. It hasn't met quorum yet. 2.7 million out of 9 million, but I think this is a pretty fresh proposal. It went up yesterday, so still got lots of time on this one, and plenty of information here in the proposal itself if you want to get a high level overview of what he's trying to build out here. Essentially, it is correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a turn-based like team auto battler that will use your gotchis and their stats. So
Yeah, teams of 5 on 5, so squads of 5, and so each gotchi is going to have its own unique traits and skills and a special power based on their unique characteristics. And so team makeup is going to be very important. Wearables have influence, but it is indeed an auto battler. It's not manually managed in terms of like the actual attack selection or anything like that. But your job is the strategy and the squad that you put together. Gotchi Vault's got 4 votes for 12,000 VLT on that same prop, so that's likely going to hit the quorum requirement at the Gotchi Vault. I do want to give major props to Immaterial because this is one of the better formatted proposals on the snapshot currently. I did start a DAO topic about the SIG core prop template standardization, and it's really it's lovely to hop in and see a prop that's put together and has all the crisp details, clear runway and deliverables, and the breakdown of the costs. Really appreciate his effort on the prop creation. That's it for the active props right now. There you go.
And so, actually, one more thing I wanted to touch on. I'm not sure if you mentioned it with the Gotchi Battler, but are there going to be some sort of like DAO-based rewards as part of the incentives to play? Like there was some sort of discussion I remember about like if there was going to be an incentive or rewards pool specifically for Gotchi Battler, and then also there was like a crossover conversation on how this could be part of rarity farming in the future, long term. Does anyone have any more context on that, or Mark, if you have any more information on that, that'd be, I don't think I see him in the meeting here actually, but
Yeah, I think he's going to be doing potentially a call with someone. I think maybe Golden Cross later, where he'll be answering some of these questions in a video.
oh,
Sounds
cool.
really like a good
Mhm.
idea. But my understanding is that this auto battler is essentially meant to replace the current rarity farming. I don't think it'll be something that replaces it immediately, but if it gets developed and we test run it, maybe it's a small percentage of a future rarity farming season, and if the pilot goes well, it could potentially be almost like a replacement for the BRS category, just to add some spice to the leaderboards.
Some gamification, if you will. That's awesome. That's great. Also, another thing I noticed here with this proposal that I like is seeing some like recognizable community members as part of this proposal. So you got Maxi Crouton, they'll be doing some backend specs, some of the backend API and smart contracts. You have iTree or eTree. We all know Adventure.io, right? Doing the front end development here. We also have Wildfire doing, and I think I've seen Wildfire do some work within our ecosystem. Battle mechanics consultant, and Coin Mandir, who did Gotchi Board, is going to be the designer, and then I think Mark, at the head of the ship there. So all kind of community involved and DAO funded here. So interesting. But that's the proposals there. That wraps it up for proposals. Let's see here.
Were there any topics anyone wanted to cover during this DAO call? We have
I'm
things
gonna-
like, I know
I'm
there
gonna-
was like quorum.
I want to hush first, and maybe on the back end of this, I've got just a few actual things to deal with. We got to do that thread point flash election to fill that vacancy, and I got some things. I'm gonna hush to begin with.
There was a proposal, I think, that passed 2 days ago, right? How to return the ghost from the Ovix exploit that was transferred to Aavegotchi DAO treasury to Ovix users. Authored by the Ovix protocol. And let's see here. This one didn't meet quorum. I don't even know if the Gotchi Vault voted on this. Didn't meet quorum, and the winning vote was actually do nothing. So I think that's worth discussing. Like what are we gonna do? What's the next step here in dealing with this with these funds? I think it's becoming kind of just a like we said before, it's a hot potato. We got to get rid of it. It's not ours to begin with. And so what are some how do we move forward with this, basically?
Conversation in the Ovix channel about basically they're currently setting up what they probably should have done initially was the proposal for the OTC deal. I was reading through it earlier today. Looks like there was some discussion on how the strike price for the OTC should be calculated, because obviously Ghost is more volatile than it was before. So currently it's around 86 cents. I'm not quite sure exactly what the price they were aiming for was, but yeah, how that price gets calculated will probably be part of the OTC proposal. And as long as I think the issue that the community and the DAO is having right now is doesn't really want to just send the funds back as Ghost, because the assumption is that their Ovix is just going to sell it. That might be an incorrect assumption, but I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary. So I think the preferred option would be to do an OTC off the market and use the DAI of the DAO treasury to purchase the ghosts from them and then return the DAI to them.
Yeah, fully agree. That is indeed the desired outcome of best circumstances. Truth be told, like we're putting this ball in the Ovix community's hands to engage with our governance procedures. It feels like it's a little bit out of their element, a little bit unfamiliar to them. And so, I mean, I'm not shocked that this prop didn't meet quorum. It's sloppy. It's got too many options. It's not well written. There's some confusing language in it. So they just like they're having issues getting together a tight, clear proposal. Hardcore gave them stern but good advice yesterday. Make this simple, yes or no on the OTC deal, and then let's just get this thing handled. I know that they've been talking with Mark Zeller because they're international. Their team at Ovix is international. They've been talking with Zeller to try to figure out some opportunities to try to get some help from the Gotchi Vault regarding voting. And then Hamza Khan's also been kind of weighing in on this, head of Polygon DeFi. Those are all friends of the Ovix protocol. So like Ovix isn't just a nobody or a nothing. We do want to get this resolved, but I don't think that there's no debate whatsoever about these funds going back into that community's hands. We're just trying to get them to use our mechanisms so we can do it properly, and then it's over.
Yep, they just need to really make a proposal that says either like option one would be do an OTC deal using a 14-day TWAP for this amount of money using the Gotchi treasury, and option two would be do nothing. Like that's really all they need.
Exactly correct. They were getting really confused with, okay, I got to give two options of action, and then also I have to have the do nothing or further discussion option, right? And it's just like, it's shocking to me how good all of us are at understanding how DAO mechanics function. Because when you see another community dive right in, they go, what the hell is all of this?
They shouldn't be offered. There's no choice. It's just like, here's, after all this discussion, we've given them a pretty clear path, which is the community. It sounds like, I think the majority of the community is willing to do the OTC. We just need to settle on how that strike price is calculated and which wallet it's coming from and where it's going. But I guess we don't really care at that point where the DAI goes, except wherever it's going. We need to do, like, the directors need to have KYC performed on whoever is receiving it. So as long as they can accept all those conditions, then it's really just one option, like do the plan, and then option B is do nothing.
Yeah, I know that as of yesterday we were chatting, and they're re-amending their resubmission, and so we should be seeing that here pretty soon.
Great. So yeah, so I did see the SIG core prop template format. Do you want to talk about that at all, Michaelium?
Yeah, so this is pretty straightforward. Let me re-grab the link and drop it just so people can watch here. So this is just referencing the original SIG core prop template that was in our Cocoon doc way back in the win. And so it's still pretty much relevant. We've seen a couple of little updates to it along the way. First, as DAO directors asked that Friends did better about providing specific wallet addresses and specific distribution timelines and timetables in propositions, so that way the DAO directors have the best information on which to execute. So that's been an update that we've wanted to see happen to the template that most people adopt. And then now with Thrive coin system in place, Thrive wants to be able to reward people that write props. And so for that reason, they need a piece of information in the prop that is standardized, so that way they can scrape it and pull it for their auto checks. And the easiest piece of intel that they've determined right now is the Discord ID. So not just the username, but the specific unique Discord ID. And so that's really all that I've got here on the template side of things. Hardcore started an interesting question about quorum, because we had that listed as the 20% quorum, 9 million, as a non-changing piece. And there is a discussion to be had about dynamic quorum. That's not necessarily this particular discussion topic. This is just, does anybody see anything in the SIG core prop template that would improve the overall process? And as a community, are we overall committed to using this as our official template?
I do think that having an official published template on like a Notion page or just published in a blog post like we did with the original one would be very useful. So whenever this does get passed, we should add it to the Notion that Hefe and was it Hardcore were working on initially, and we should continue using that and try to have a real resource for people new to the DAO that are coming in and trying to figure out what this DAO is all about.
Let me plug that again. Yeah, let me plug that again. I should get that up.
As far as quorum, I do think we need to do a study on the current amount of potential voting power, as it does change. Although it doesn't change as much as it used to, because before Ghost was the supply of it was obviously volatile, and so calculating those numbers was a little trickier. It still is a little bit volatile though, because it calculates the ghost that is actually on Polygon, and so if people are bridging back and forth, or generally it's like if it's being bridged onto Ethereum, it's not counted in quorum. But I would say the amount is fairly stable these days. So that's the total amount. And I know there was a little bit of discussion about like counting using like the velocity of quorum, who's been voting in like the last 90 days. Personally, I don't think that's a great idea. It could lead to some governance attacks down the line, but worth considering, I think. Mikey J, that's a good point. We should define why quorum is important and what we're trying to achieve to be able to come to a conclusion of a proper quorum threshold. I think in general, you just want to know that a group, the like quorum of the members has been met. Like there was a sufficient amount of the voting power expressed itself in choosing an option, because otherwise you're getting governed by a small minority of voters. Yep, sample size confidence. If we have 1,000 votes available and only 10 of those actually show up, then that remaining 990 might, I mean, they should have voted, but they, for whatever reason, didn't. But it's almost like the vote is not representative of the majority at that point, even though they had the opportunity to vote but didn't.
Now, I'm 100% seeing cases out there in the space of quorums that don't at all achieve that sample size confidence. If anything, it almost works in opposite. The quorum doesn't always mean that.
For sure. I would say that our voting power on the individual level is quite well distributed. But when you think about like the vault and how the voting power there is, it's representative of individuals, but they've delegated to that single entity, and that the voting power in that single entity doesn't seem to be particularly well distributed, although generally we don't see extremely high turnouts there either. So, but I think in general, like ghost voting power is quite well distributed. Hardcore says there's no way to say the situation we're in with the OVX vote is DAO rules functioning as intended. I wouldn't agree. I would say if they had just reached out to the DAO and kind of, I mean, they're basically we're going through this process right now where it took them a while to actually start reaching out and asking the right questions. And I think our community has been quite responsive to them, telling them and trying to figure out how to work out this sticky situation with them.
So I agree with you there, and I think that Hardcore would too. I think he might be more referring to the fact of the Gotchi Vault with their large VP and our quorum mechanics. And if they choose to take a conflict of interest stance, that it puts us in a shockingly challenging quorum condition.
I think, I mean, 9% or 9 million of our total quorum. Again, we need to figure out the final exact number of how much voting power is actually available, but it's at least 50 to 45 to 50 million. I think that's on the low end. I think it might be a little bit higher than that if we factor in like realm parcels. So 29 million out of that is still not, it's doable without the vault voting. And we've seen situations where core props get like 18 million, and so that's way over the portion that the vault is contributing, especially these days as I don't know what their current voting power is, but I would say it's probably going down because the vault is actually shutting down.
And that might be a great point too. Is it maybe better to wait until the vault stops their rental services, and if there's a removal of a lot of those asset aggregations there, then their VP would obviously dilute, and the problem might kind of resolve itself, opposed to us spending the next 2 months putting a lot of energy into trying to redefine our standards.
Yeah, I think it's gonna eventually work itself out fairly well.
The other thing I keep thinking about, I just try to hear all opinions, right? And so Bearded keeps bringing this phrase up about that not all props are like guaranteed to meet quorum. Not everything will pass. Many things that go up on stage may fail, and maybe that's the effort of that proposition creator in their lobbying of their efforts. And so maybe that's just the answer, and now everything's just more difficult, and the enemies of the realm have grown stronger.
Well, I fully agree that not every proposal should meet quorum, and there shouldn't be an expectation that every sig prop is going to reach quorum. Like that's never been the case. It's always meant to be a little bit difficult to obtain, although not extremely difficult. But there's always meant to be a little bit of friction, because if everything is too easy, then you end up getting a lot of proposals that aren't as well thought out as they could be, or aren't exactly what the DAO really wants, but they just end up, getting kind of limping through. So I think it's good to have that little bit of friction, but we don't want it to be a point where the community members that are making these proposals are saying like it's an impossible task to meet quorum.
And maybe another question here too is like, so when a prop says, yes, vote yes to endorse what I'm asking for, or vote no, or further discussion is needed, or by not voting whatsoever and it not meeting quorum, is the no, further discussion is needed, or the failure of quorum, are those not both essentially the same thing, which is like a no from the community?
I always took the failure of quorum as just there's not enough support for what you're doing. There's just not enough support for the proposal, and maybe a further conversation is required. Oftentimes that is the case where, maybe there's a lack of information on certain aspects. But I think I also see the comment section in Snapshot kind of gets underutilized. I think that would be really helpful too if you were to provide some sort of feedback while you vote. That would be helpful as well for those people who either don't meet quorum or, like you say, get the no's, right? I don't think a no is specifically cease immediately, but more as a further discussions needed, and then you figure out if it's actually something the DAO wants at that point.
I think a no is at least there's an individual willing to show up with voting power saying that they're not interested in that option. Whereas not meeting quorum is just, that's more like I don't think this is gonna reach quorum, and I'm not even gonna contribute my voting power to get it to
Yeah.
it. It's like I don't even want this thing to exist.
So lack of quorum is like complete apathy, complete non-support. A no is at least interest, but not approval.
I would say no is kind of open for more discussion than complete like abstinence from voting. At that point, it's kind of like you could pretty much take the message that the DAO doesn't want it. You know what I mean? If your proposal is not meeting quorum and there was no reasonable explanation for it, I think it's always good to follow up on any proposal, no matter what the status is. But if there's no reasonable explanation for why it didn't meet quorum, at that point, it's almost like, well, I don't think the DAO is really that excited about this. That's kind of the message. Whereas when you have a no, it's kind of like no to what? It opens up to another conversation of what parts did the DAO not like about this. Maybe there's a way to iterate on it and make it happen.
Do we think the scheduling of these votes matter? Currently, all core prop or sig prop votes go out on Wednesdays, correct?
You mean core props? I think core
correct.
props. I don't think we've ever had Have we ever had a core prop that didn't meet quorum?
No, I don't think
we've had core props
that didn't meet quorum.
that failed, like that they passed in sig prop but didn't make it to core prop. But I don't think we've ever had a core prop that actually didn't reach quorum, because the XP incentive is just too strong.
Hardcore saying a bunch of them. There was a bunch of them
that didn't reach quorum. No, I don't think
core
so.
prop. No,
a core prop, not a sig prop. A core prop that passed sig prop and was elevated. The arcade is dead because it didn't meet quorum. Yeah, I think that was like.
Oh, that one.
The vault not voting in time for some reason.
That one was resubmitted though, was it not? That was worked out. There was another proposal that was put out.
Yeah, didn't we vote on the arcade already?
Yeah, they have the 100K Ghost Hardcore. I think that's already been sorted out. I think that was taken care of.
They definitely have the funding.
They have the money. Yeah, a year later. Yeah, it took a while.
Well,
sure.
I don't know, why did it take them a year to resubmit?
I don't know. I can't.
That's ATF.
Yeah.
We're actually kind of about to see the same thing here with the Alchemica LP injections too. That conversation's coming back to.
Yeah, we'll be sending the Alchemica over to the foundation.
I hope y'all are listening, friends. Okay, so then I think so. Dan, just in general, then, do you think it's worth spinning up a DAO topic like investigating quorum considerations and experimentations and thought happenings, or do we kind of just maybe like grit our teeth for a couple months and see what happens post vault services pausing?
Well, I think one thing that's worth noting is that like the current quorum is 20%, which was initially in the initial blog post was actually only meant to be for proposals that are like going to affect large swaths of the ecosystem. We've just kind of used it as a heuristic for all the proposals, but I think there could be room for maybe lowering quorum for proposals that aren't as significant or are asking for less funding from the DAO. I mean, I think this idea of like sig prop, core prop is good for when we talk about like what is a proposal, it's a Aavegotchi improvement proposal. Really, we really should have a streamlined system for funding proposals. Like if the DAO is not gonna get together and make DTF v2, which I think it should, and I think that whoever is running that should be funded because the DAO has funding now. Then if they're not going to do that, then we should set up another way to streamline funding proposals. Because right now, having to do a full sig prop and core prop for like a 5,000 ghost ask is kind of ridiculous.
That's a those are both good vectors of solution. Probably should do them both.
I just want to point out that because I've been doing a lot of Twitter Spaces with like big ApeCoin peeps because they're doing their DAO elections now. They're going through the same issues. They actually have implemented like what seems like working groups. So like the idea of like subgroups in the DAO that do certain working, administrative stuff. Mikey J has like hinted at this. Dr. Wagme has hinted at this.
Mhm.
So it is a structure that is being adopted in other large DAOs.
Yeah, we've talked about like MakerDAO uses this idea of sub DAOs. I don't think it's anything new. We did try it with the WTF and the ATF. Now, are those funded positions? They paid
Yeah,
positions?
they're paying like ridiculous amounts of money for
Yeah.
these different positions.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think the difference is these task force that we initially set up were not funded. The members were not being paid anything.
Well, and they
Yeah,
didn't want to be. I think they wanted to just be there on a voluntary basis, and so I think these would need to be compensated positions because then that would allow for some accountability. There could be some expectations. There could be some delivery from each of the members. I think that would actually be essential, and then also having people to review the work. Like that was something I was trying to get on time and again is like to review the work is also important, especially for the maybe not the larger projects, but more the smaller tasks and like you say, the smaller grants should get reviewed because I imagine like over time, you get a lot of those coming through. So have people like if the pathways exist, there will be more things coming through, and we should be sure that there's ways to review that work. It doesn't fall on just maybe one person because then you can look at it multiple different ways and make sure the DAO is getting quality for what it's for the funds it's dispersing.
So, what was I going to say? I think the work that we've done with ThriveCoin on this has been kind of a good first step in getting some community members to do like the reviewer role. Although those members are not compensated currently, I believe. But the
Tab
fact that
is.
What's that?
Tab is indeed. Yeah, we're a compensated role.
Okay, great. I did not know that.
It's very minor. It's more like gratitude, but it is something.
Right. So I think the individuals that are doing that would be good candidates to kind of roll over into a real DTF V2 where they're actually reviewing the progress or the work that's been done by the grant applicants.
I couldn't agree more. I think that what we're doing right now in ThriveCoin is indeed like the model for DTF 2.0. And, just doing it with a couple of different mechanics and expectations, and it's more of forward funding and grant-based stuff opposed to retroactive rewarding. But that team is working hard. I am very pleased to be on that ThriveCoin advisory board. T-Bird, Soju, Hills, Maury just stepped down. He had personal reasons. We're going to fill his spot here in a second right now. So whoever's listening that wants to see what it's like to be on a micro team that's focused and making productive progress, like, it feels good.
It is really great to see you guys, the way you guys are working together there. And I think there are, like you say, Coder Den, there are parallels there to what we're discussing with reviewers and possibly like a DAO grants committee or DAO funding group like the DTF, but having active members involved that can provide quality feedback. And the workspace for this already exists, you guys. Like I spent a lot of time with ZFi and Hardcore and some of the other people in the DAO here to try and figure out a way where you could just go to a landing page, submit your idea, and then have this idea fall into a place where, like you say, this advisory board could look at it and say, hey, this is actually a good idea. We should probably fund it. And there's a whole process for getting that done. So that already exists. It's just about having the right people in place, which I think the advisory board would be like a perfect shoe-in for that. But it depends on how the DAO feels about it, of course.
We'll start some discussions.
Yeah.
No, it's a good idea. It needs to happen. There's opportunities to improve things there. Hardcore made a comment there too as well with the Voltron hackathon ongoing. Next week we're going to be doing ideation, and part of that is tracks. Establishing some tracks of desired outcomes or desired focus areas. One of which could very likely be our snapshot. Just a quick thing too. I really like this DAO meeting kind of overlapping with the community call here because it's really fun to see these guys dropping these fire auctions and stuff too. There's still fun stuff to pay attention to. It's hard to dual track the brain.
Yeah, Mikey J, I agree that I'm just saying this was a good kind of example of how like compensated members can come together for a specific purpose and have the individual reviewers reviewing the work. So I would love to see a DTF V2 that potentially consists of these same members with more responsibility and a bigger budget, being able to grant funds to specific individuals or projects in the community within a certain budget. Like if it's something like Gotchi Battler, I think that's probably still that's a large funding request.
Yeah, that's
so
different.
Maybe,
That's different.
I don't know if it would go through that.
Yeah, there'd be a cap and whatnot. And Mikey, they were indeed individually elected. They did run a poll for nominees, and then they did run an election for these roles, and it's a 6 months placement for those. Even though the pilot's only 3 months, a little silly there. I don't know how that jives, but that'll work. And then, speaking of, this is to that same exact message link because I'd like to make sure we get this done here just before the time runs away from us. So Maury has stepped down from his appointment in the tab, in the ThriveCoin Advisory Board. He just has a recently minted 1 of 1 at the house, and he's got a lot going on his plate, and so he's just not of the ability to commit because we do have multiple weekly work calls, and so it's typically anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of commitment a week to be a strongly engaged and contributing member of the ThriveCoin Advisory Board. We have 1 vacancy currently available. So I posted this message here the other day. What we're thinking here makes the most sense is we're sourcing the nominees that did not get elected from the initial election as our kind of our first nominee bank. Just in the time of, or in the spirit of timeliness, we don't want to have a week-long drawn-out election process because we kind of need to keep moving. We've got a lot on our plate right now. And so these are the 12 individuals that were not elected from the initial nominees. And so this message was intended to activate to see if of those nominees who is still interested in potentially participating. As of right now, Chair has raised his hand, Bowtied Nerd has raised their hand, and Light Piglet has raised their hand. I'm going to pause for maybe about 5 minutes and give everyone a chance to maybe read the message or think about it or see if your name's on the list or ping a friend and get any other hands raised from that nominees bucket that would like to participate. And then we'll just run a really quick just emoji flashes in here to settle the open slot.
So Maury was like there's different
like channels, exactly.
Pillars,
He was the builder's pillar.
He was so do we need someone who was in the builders, like what are the skills required for this individual?
Great question. So what we've discovered is that those individual pillars are not as critical as commitment and enthusiasm and presence, quite honestly. And so at least in that builder track regard, there was only 2 people. It was Maury and Diddley. And so if we're committed to sourcing a builder that was a nominee, we've only got one choice. It's Diddley. And if he doesn't want to do it, then now we're back stuck at starting fresh. And so we want to open it up to all nominees because at least, in tier 2, these are individuals who at least demonstrated interest in participating in the tab. And now operating in tab so far, we've recognized that it doesn't feel that any of us have it's not me and my community skills that are shining through in all things community. It's not Soju taking care of only artistic related tracks and things like that. We're all helping each other in everything. T-Bird's doing everything. And so I don't think it's as critical to have a specific builder fill this vacancy.
I mean, the people you mentioned there do kind of fill those shoes in varying degrees. So
That's fine, Musashi. You can feel that way. I know that I reached out to you personally about it, and Sanad reached out to you personally about it. If you don't want to play, you don't have to play.
and it is open invitation at this point, right? Like you say, if you
Yeah,
think you
absolutely.
can fill those shoes and get your name in the hat there.
The initial ThriveCoin trial pilot is for 3 months. We're a little bit past the halfway point for the first month of those 3 months, and so it's going to be 2.5 months is what the serving of this would be. All right, I'm gonna type in 3 names here, and I think we just dropped some emojis here.
Can I
Go ahead. What you got?
mention the subject I brought up yesterday during the block party?
Oh, heck yeah, yeah. You go ahead. Just keep going. I'll be typing
This is
here.
my 30-second elevator pitch. I would like to approach the DAO about funding Hangout 2.0, another event that happens during the weekly for the Gotcha Gang, that we can also use for onboarding. We can use this to play the mini games and just basically do a second Hangout weekly that is appropriate for the European/Australian audience that likes to play with us. That's the whole pitch. I can get into specifics if it makes sense. Like, I haven't really thought about this in depth, but this is literally just a temperature check. Do we want to do something like that?
Hell yeah. That's the sentiment I get. Let's do it. Aavegotchi game night for the Aussies, for the other side of the world.
Yeah, in my mind, we don't have spillover active at any other point in the week, so we can use the funding for the like dropping Alchemica or giving away prizes, whatever the heck, just something to make it fun another time during the week that we all can congregate and talk.
So the ask would be that like spillover is turned on during this event.
Not necessarily. It could be if the DAO is funding it. It could just be a weekly allotment of Alchemica for proto-licks, for dropping potions, like stuff to actually play the game and like get in there and mess around with. As we develop and get like private arenas and team modes, we can go nuts with it. It's just literally what we're doing here, but a second time a week, but run by the DAO. So it doesn't necessarily have to have a Pixelcraft employee there. If you guys are available, great, but there's no like need to pull you away from actually shipping. And I like Mikey J's idea of doing it like as a test run, but I'm thinking it's like a very low hanging fruit kind of thing, because it's not like we don't need $1,000 a week to do this. It's literally whatever, a nice bag of Alchemica to drop on people, and then just to have a fun party in the Discord.
We should do it. It's honest to God, it's the most fun I've had is attending these game nights. I think that's saying a lot.
But I don't want it to be a game night. It's a Hangout 2.0. We have a whole system of mini games that we should be supporting, and we can have little competitions in the mini games on those nights where, we put up a fake gotchi and you guys have to play out whoever gets the top 10 score. If we can get the dev on the game to like reset the leaderboard for that night, there are many ways we can have fun with this.
Yeah, also with like 3D gotchis and everything, I'd love to have like Monoverse Hangout Night or, some other cross metaverse collaboration opportunities there. We could definitely do some really interesting things for game night.
I'm shooting for the 8-coin DAO to get in there because they have developer teams and stuff like that. And like I've mentioned on their streams, like, hey, we have a DAO and we're a gaming protocol. So if you're not getting action over here, we have a smaller budget, come by and you have a good idea. We might be able to play around and get you to build a tool or something that works for us. So it would be cool for onboarding other peeps too.
You already have this spun up somewhere too, don't you? Where can people like leave comments and follow up on this conversation?
Well, just think of sorry, I started to eat a banana when you asked this question.
I
Topum.
mean, hang out the apes too much.
I like to eat my yogurt and fruit during these meetings. So once we're done, I'm jazzed up. I can jump on my bike and go get some coffee. So, but that's beside the point. These I mean, Orium does it. It doesn't have to be the way we do it. Topum does it. It could be the way they do it. Hardcore has some great ideas about arena rugby. There's many different ways that we can do it. I think there's also simple sites. I can talk to the mods at Orium because we've used it once that allow for bracket style tournaments that the site will run. A battle will happen. You can have two people duke it out and they'll move it forward. And it doesn't, I think it's a free tool or something that we can use. There's a way to gamify things and make this just a little bit more fun, but just a second night of the week. And DAO funded. So that's, it's our own initiative.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. Heffy's with you. Let's do it. I think that they're talking the right idea. Let's try to demo it. Let's see what it would look like. Let's exemplify it. I think
Do we
you're on
have
something.
any Aussies in the chat that could provide some input on maybe optimal hours if we were to do something like this?
Also Asians and Europeans.
Yeah, that particular side of the world.
Five your time zone, Hefe, 5 p.m. and later is what Jared had listed as availability on the Let Us Meet relating
perfect. Yeah.
to the Voltron hackathon. So it's kind of just like our US evening.
That's kind of awesome because we can cover both, and we can get the evening folks, give them something to do, evening weekday, and then we got the.
I do the evening Orium game night, and people are complaining that they're not getting. They want something earlier, like something noon Eastern or earlier. But I defer to. If you guys have suggestions, just DM me and let me know, and we'll play around with this idea a little bit more.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, just let us know. We will go ahead and schedule that in the Discord here so everyone can see the event scheduled.
Aavegotchi
Awesome.
arcade nights.
Yeah, it could be 1 hour. We don't have to really kill ourselves, but get out there and play some of these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good idea.
Choina, of course you can attend. You just have to ski down the mountain to do it.
Choin is the friendliest troll I know.
Cool. Well, yeah, just let us know what the decision is on that. I mean, happy to support however we can.
Mostly just having that switch to flip. If we can switch that flip and get y'all to give us the nod, so that way we can make the event, fully endorsed with worthwhile for people's time. Then yeah, we'll put it together.
I like the flip of the switch, but I want the DAO to use some of our own because we're getting Alchemica, right? It makes perfect sense to dribble it a little. I'm not talking dumping thousands and thousands and.
Well, you said this yesterday, right? Isn't this the definition of player rewards?
Yeah, and it's also the thing is you're not just dropping Alchemica. The liquidators themselves are a burn. I didn't realize this yesterday. I was like, I should be using these potions. I'm running around getting wrecked constantly. And heck, I should be just buying the potions. So it's oh wait, if this is a game and we're playing it as a game, these sinks seem very natural and super cheap. And I mean, a level 2 liquidator is tough to beat. And if we drop that, people have fun trying to beat it, and we burn 10% of our Alchemica. We're literally working in favor of the tokenomics by being degen gamers.
Yep.
Okay, I'll spin up a forum post at some point in the next few days with very basic ideas of what I'm thinking here, because this isn't going to be a heavy lift at all, so I don't really see it needing much funding beyond rewards. But I'll put something out and then we get feedback and just kind of kick it around through our process.
I'm thinking about Hardcore's comment here, right? So his comment is we need to change our culture. We've become too dependent on official and leadership and rewards. It should be normal for someone to come up with an idea and whoever is around just goes and tries it with them. I actually feel like that happens quite often in our space. A lot of things are happening that aren't necessarily fully sanctioned or endorsed Gotchi Heroes, like he said, that's 2 years of effort, and no one's ever told him officially that he should do that or that he's going to even get anything for it. The Stratagachi, was an independent effort. Fake Lore is an independent effort. GMI is an independent effort. There are lots of things going on in general, but yeah, it's not. We just that crossing over from these quiet circles that have good ideas into percolating into things that are able to actually be demonstrated. Like I did not know that Topum was working on these specific game modes, and I mean they're putting a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah, and
I
I would
think
say to this for this hangout, I would not want to see this go to like sig prop, core prop. I think that would be like overkill for this. I'm happy, to give some if the issue is like a budget for buying Alchemica, like you don't have to give out a lot of Alchemica at this game. It's more for just having fun, I feel like.
I'm curious to know more about Hardcore's Liquidator Rugby and see how if we can make that a thing. Like using what we already have, whether it's liquidators or potions, like you're saying, no futuristic, to kind of make this an interesting experience, and then kind of figure out how much Alchemica that would cost to make X amount of liquidators over an hour. Just kind of figure out a rough idea of what we might
To
need.
give context, because I have a weekly budget that I already use. Like
Okay.
for Orium Game Night, it's $25 of Alchemica. That, and we do $25 of other prizes and stuff. $25 of Alchemica goes a long way. You can get a lot of liquidators out of it. I can't make it rain like Chair makes it rain. Like when you see Chair in a place, it freezes up the whole game.
That's that
$25
Infinity Keys rain. That's different.
Yeah, it doesn't do that, but it gets a lot of liquidators. But usually it's like 7, 8 players maybe. So if you scale that out a little bit more, a little more helps. But it still works if you're doing mostly just liquidators and small scale drops.
I think it makes sense for like Infinity Keys or Orium or some of the different guilds can help sponsor these. I don't think it needs to be like an official DAO sanctioned activity, right? I don't think we need to even get into that. It's like whoever wants to organize this, it could be a weekly sponsor or like Topum has every week they're doing it, and it's kind of a fixed schedule. Like so if a group wants, you're basically drawing attention to the brand that you're creating. So I don't think it needs to be anything superficial. Just like whoever wants to bring some publicity to what you're working on and drop a little Alchemica, just like host the night.
Well, what I'm thinking is it's in addition. This is like a DAO separated. This is just the Aavegotchi DAO. We're doing our own thing. So those other nights are still going to happen. This is just adding more programming. That's like DAO specific.
Yeah, but the DAO doesn't have a great way to fund these kind of like micro things right now. I'm pushing, I think we do, kind of broken record here. I think DTF 2.0 needs to happen. But until we have that, I'm saying I don't want to see sig prop core prop for $25 of Alchemica.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, you're right. We're missing.
You run a test trial of like a month or something, 2 months. Then you ask for a year's value of Alchemica bled out slowly through parcel for the DAO directors to just sign one thing and not be tortured.
Yeah, interesting ideas. Lots of things to experiment with here. Mikey, maybe you're right on the money there. Season 2 of ThriveCoin is going to be direct reward handouts. That's the ghost rewards, not this raffle mechanism. So that would actually be a really easy contribution to put on there. It's really easy to manually review and verify. That's a good idea. Jesse, that poor dework board, that man, our poor stepchild.
Even before season 2, like could you just add like you get 500 Thrive points for hosting an Alchemica night? Doesn't have to be. Rewards.
It'd be very easy to do. We can introduce it mid-season. We're still introducing a couple contributions here right now. We can bring it up next week.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mikey J. I mean, yeah, Thrive is a great system for this kind of stuff. We should be using it. Cool. Let's make it happen, friends. Who's gonna host the first one?
I'll plan something out. We'll talk, and then I'll just I just need a time, basically. Like what time, what day works best, and then I'm pretty available. I live in a studio with a live streaming setup, so like I'm always ready.
I'd say spin up a dedicated topic and drop a lettuce and let interested individuals try to do some time submissions so that we can pick it.
Yeah.
After this meeting, I'll go to breakfast. I'll kind of chill for a little bit, and then start the very beginning of a forum post that we can talk about, like just specifics. Nothing about funding or anything like that, but just like, hey, what time works? What formats work? What games do we want to play?
Well, there's Ogre's slot. Cool. I do want to drop this link again here to a reminder for the Voltron Hackathon. The Lettuce Meet is up in there as well, and we'd like to get everyone to submit some timelines on it. Let me jump into the announcements and grab Thrax's here again as 2 because we want that type form filled out so we know who to reach out to and start assembling our work teams here of who wants to go into this. This is not going to be explicitly infrastructure or anything, guys. It's just building in Aavegotchi community. So if you want to build something related to the gaming side of our ecosystem, do it. You want to build something for Fate Gotchis, do it. People have talked about escrow utilities for holding NFTs for prizes and whatnot, do it. Anything is open as long as it's just benefiting the greater Aavegotchi community. So this is the time to make your voice heard. Even if you think, it's not really like a build idea, it's not like a dev idea, you might be wrong. So if you're interested, just raise your hand and we'll kick this off and start trying to find the best things that we can get built for the community.
Awesome, friends. Really good call. Any final words or things we definitely want to cover next week? We can start working on the agenda for next week's DAO call.
I feel like that could be a really good Thrive reward, by the way, too, just for McCallum and the crew there, advisory, the tab crew. I think having some sort of reward available for somebody who wants to put together that docket. I can also provide like the template I was using. I'll pin it either in the host chat or wherever we feel it's appropriate. Maybe I can make a forum post, and then that could be a framework that's used. If you fill that out and submit it for the next DAO meeting, then you get X amount of Thrive coin or whatever.
That's definitely on our radar. We were hoping that the format of the Sunday DAO call agendas was going to mature slightly, so that way, because you were doing good about dropping those itineraries like Saturday, the day before. And within that itinerary, we were hoping to request the designated host to be tagged in it, so that way we could scrape their Discord ID and it could be automated. Otherwise, at this point, we can immediately do it, but it'll just be a manually reviewed process, which is fine because we can go back and look at the calls, and it's obvious of who hosted which call. So we can even retroactively handle this manually. But we have every ambition to reward people for A, hosting calls, and B, being involved and participating in calls. We just got to figure out all the right capture tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, I'm glad to get your Sunday back, your Sundays back, and Coder Dan's Sunday back, because you get your evenings. And maybe, in this bear market and with everything going on right now, it's a nice quality of life improvement probably for everybody. So, yeah.
Some of my best shipping is on the weekend, so this should be good.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
Oh, we've been doing this all wrong then. Yeah, we got to figure out how to do more with less, friends.
More is less a lot of the time, so, or less is more. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, Soju, that was too easy. I can't believe that hadn't happened yet. Right. And on that note, I'm a happy camper, man. We get to
wrap it up.
Cool, friends. See you next week then. And for the WHIP event, everyone will make an announcement when that's finally live and public, and definitely you'll want to tune into that. It's going to be lit.
Later,
friends. Have a great week.
Peace.
Take it easy, friends.